before sunup, wandering all alone, playing in the dirt. Harrie had no idea who the child might be or where she belonged. She and DJ had lived on Sagebrush Lane only a short time, and she had no knowledge of any small children living in the immediate area. How far could this little girl have walked before she got tired and stopped here? Harrie looked at the houses across the street and on either side. No apparent activity in any of them. Draperies were still closed, and the only sound came from a neighbor's sprinklers down the street. She thought about calling the police. The parents would probably be terribly embarrassed and have to answer many questions. Too bad. Maybe they needed a wake-up call, in more ways than one. She reached for the little girl's hand and said, "Come with me, sweetie. We need to find your mommy and daddy. My name is Harrie. Would you like a glass of orange juice?" The child nodded solemnly and reached for Harrie's outstretched hand. As she clasped the small, cold hand in her own warmer one, Harrie became aware of stickiness on the child's fingers. Now Harrie's own hand felt sticky. She bent down to gather up the little girl, careful to avoid staining her own clothing. Chocolate? Or syrup? Harrie sniffed at her hand. She felt the hair on the back of her neck rise up, and she shivered. Such a distinctive smell. Blood. 2. DJ Scott rose early most days and went for a quick run before showering and dressing for work. Last night's late return from a task force operation had left him tired, so he hadn't set his alarm. But this morning he jolted awake, his brain struggling to identify an unfamiliar sound. A quick glance at the clock on his nightstand showed 5:18 a.m. He noticed Harrie wasn't in bed, and logically that could explain the sound. But something told him that wasn't it. He got his robe from the foot of the bed and felt for his slippers. In the dimness of the curtained room, he walked to the armoire and briefly considered taking his Glock out of the top drawer. Rejecting that idea, he eased open the bedroom door and listened a few seconds. He heard the faint sound of Harrie's voice. She spoke quietly, and it didn't seem like a conversation she'd be having with her cat. He followed the sound and found her in the kitchen, bending over a chair hidden from his view. She seemed to sense his presence and turned toward him, holding a small glass of orange juice. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to wake you." DJ approached, preparing to take her in his arms. Then he noticed the small blonde head attached to a child sitting in the chair. She had a blanket wrapped around her tiny body. Who's your little friend?" Harrie turned back to the child and handed her the glass of juice before she responded. She took DJ's arm and led him a short distance away. "We have a small problem here, and I don't know exactly who to call about it." She related what she'd found in their front yard and the condition of the child. "I cleaned off the blood from her hands and clothes the best I could." DJ blew out a breath. "We have to call the police. The authorities should know about a child that small, wandering around by herself, with blood on her clothing." Harrie nodded, and she looked over at the child. "I guess you're right. But couldn't we wait a little while? She hasn't said anything. I'm not even sure she can talk. The blood isn't coming from her, I'm positive of that. She doesn't seem to be injured in any way. I tried to warm her up and see if she could tell me her name and maybe where she lives. So far, she's just sitting there, hugging that stuffed bear and drinking juice. She's on her third glass." DJ lifted Harrie's chin up and looked into her eyes. "Why didn't you just wake me? Us FBI types are supposed to be good at solving mysteries and dealing with damsels in distress." Harrie put her arms around him. "I thought I could figure it out so you could get more sleep. You looked so peaceful. If she's not injured, and we don't even know where she came from, where do we start?"